Story 1. Firecracker in the Flesh. They say every town's got that one house the one folks drive by a little quicker. The one kids dare each other to knock on come Halloween. Can light fireworks so loud they'd rattle your bones. But this year, the fuse burned differently. In Ash Grove, that house sat at the end of Ridgeway Road, draped in mildew, fly-ridden flags, and memories nobody wanted to claim. And inside it lived Hank Turner, a Vietnam vet with more scars than medals and a heart full of gunpowder. His hands were red, not paint red, not barbecue sauce red, blood red. Every 4th of July, Hank would drag out his rusted grill, crank up some Leonard Skinner. It started with a smell, something sour and sweet, like meat left in the sun. He was looking for something else: landmines, tripwires, a mortar cannon he built from scrap metal and old shame. They said it was something else, something that wriggled inside him, something that came back with him from the jungle and had been sleeping behind his ribs for decades, waiting for the right spark. The neighborhood kids were playing with sparklers out front when they saw Hank stumbling from his house, shirtless pants soaked in something dark. "Y'all seen my goddamn dog?" he slurred. The kids ran, but Hank wasn't looking for his dog. That night, the sky bloomed with colors, and the neighborhood clapped and cheered, unaware that Hank had rigged his house like a war zone. When the fireworks started, so did the killing. First, it was the Millers. Blew up with a boom so loud their roof lifted off like a goddamn rocket. God, then it was the Broadest caught in a spray of nails shot from Hank's front yard like shrapnel-laced confetti. And all the while, Hank screamed, "Burn, you motherfuckers. Burn for Uncle Sam." Hank had rigged himself with firecrackers stuffed under his skin, packed into his mouth, his ears, his damn eye sockets. When they tried to talk him down, he lit the match. By the time the cops came, it was too late. He exploded into a wet mist of patriotism and pain. The news called it a tragedy, but the ones who survived, they said Hank wasn't alone in that house. Something inside him had been whispering, calling itself the spark. Something older than war, older than America, and it was hungry. Story 2. The Parade of Meat. Every small town's got a parade, eh? And every parade has got its secrets, but none were bloodier than Ediston's 4th of July meat parade, okay? You heard that right, meat parade. It started back in the 1800s, some weird-ass harvest ritual to honor the spirit of the soil. Folks would dress up in animal pelts, roll carts full of raw meat through the streets. Her son Mike had disappeared a week before. Cops found his blood-soaked phone in the woods behind the old slaughterhouse, but nothing else. No body, no prints, no suspects. And chant old-world prayers in broken Latin. What better way to pretend everything's fine than with a damn parade? Over time, it turned into just another excuse for rednecks to drink and throw hot dogs at each other. But this year, shit went sideways. The mayor, Carla Dorsey, was already on edge. Still, the town needed its distractions. The floats rolled out on the morning of the 4th burlap banners. Fake cows, some high school band playing a butchered version of Born in the USA. The crowd hollered and waved their flags, chomping corn dogs like pigs at the trough. That's when float number 7 appeared. Nobody remembered it being on the lineup. No signs, arms and legs sewn together like streamers, faces twisted, flayed open grinned in silent screams as the float passed the children's section. No sponsors, just a flatbed trailer covered in meat hooks and real goddamn meat, sput from blood mist spraying from blown open chests and torn open necks, again and again, in a voice like torn meat sizzling on a grill. Not pork, not beef, human. Skinned torsos hung like ornaments. Human. A star with 13 crooked lines around it. 13 bodies. The screams came slow at first. Few people thought it was some edgy, horror-themed stunt. Then they saw what was driving the float. A man with no skin, muscle and nerves dripping like barbecue under the July sun, eyes black as coal. People trampled each other, flipping coolers, baby strollers, folding chairs. Someone tried to tackle the thing with a folding table lid, split the man in half, but the muscle man didn't die. It just split into two smaller versions of himself. Where the pine trees grow like needles, stabbing the sky, 6 teenagers set up camp by Lake Kotawa. No cell signal, no lights, but the fire. They swore they'd keep doing it every year till they died. Just booze, weed, and hormones crackling like sparklers in their blood. Like worms cut in half, lips peeled back in a permanent smile. He didn't speak. One of them was wearing Mike's old varsity jacket. Then Maya stared into the trees like they were whispering her name. He just pointed at the mayor and the meat on the float. That's when the thing lunged. The crowd exploded into chaos. Blood sprayed across the tent in glittering, molten trails. He didn't even scream. His throat exploded in a shower of red stars, wrapped in American flags like robes. She face-planted into a jagged root, teeth snapping like popcorn. And then the root tip moved, slithered, wrapped around her jaw like it wanted to wear her face. His eyes liquefied. His skull burst open in a crimson bloom, bone and brain sizzling in the fire. Head covered in a colonial tricorn hat melted to its skull, and hands, those were on fire. Not burning, but made of flame. It's flickering, alive, cracking with ember veins like it bled gunpowder. Found Clay sitting in the dirt, carving something into his arm with a piece of bone. The parade route turned into a slaughterfest. The high school band kept playing, possessed or paralyzed no one's sure. The sky turned red, not from fireworks, and above it all, the flayed man screamed one word: feed. Only 13 people survived. They say the float disappeared, drove right into a wall of fire, and vanished. The meat gone, except for one piece, a single jawbone, still twitching, still warm. Back at the parade route, where the blood had soaked the ground, a symbol was burned into the asphalt. 13 offerings. It's the same symbol that was found in Hank Turner's bunker. The same damn shape burned into the flesh of his corpse. What the hell was happening? And who or what was pulling the strings? Story 3. Campfire Cradle, July 4th, midnight. Way out past the city line. Jason, the jock. Lexi, his girl. Ray and Dez, the stoners. Maya, the quiet one. And Clay, the weird kid who always wore black hoodies, even in July heat. They'd been coming out to the same spot for years, built memories in those woods, lost their virginities in those tents. Part came true quicker than any of them expected. It started with a fucking whisper. Not a sound you hear, but a sound you feel inside your spine. Like your bones suddenly remembered fear. Jason was the first to stop laughing. Ray was already drunk off his ass, pissing into the bushes when he saw it. A figure. Tall. Y'all hear that? Ray asked, zipper still down. The thing stepped closer. It didn't speak, just raised one finger, lit the sky. Hey, and the fireworks began, but not above them, beside them. Ray's guts burst first, like Roman candles, firing out his back. Lexi tried to run. Bad move. She tripped a tripwire Clay had set earlier just for fun. Jason grabbed the axe, swung wild. Hit nothing but shadows. Then a firework lodged itself into his open mouth like a mortar shell, hissing. His head lit up like a jack-o'-lantern. Skin peeled back. Maya survived the longest. She crawled away into the woods, bleeding from everywhere. Hey? Star with 13 lines. Same goddamn symbol from the house. From the float. What the fuck is that? She whispered, coughing up smoke. Clay looked up. His eyes weren't his anymore. Just black holes filled with sparks. History, he said. It's always repeating. It's hungry. Then he opened his mouth and let the flame out. Maya screamed as the forest caught fire. Not just the trees, but the air itself. A search party found her 2 days later, curled in the fetal position, burned but alive, eyes wide open, repeating one phrase over and over. The cradle is awake. The baby is born. Back at the lake, carved into a scorched tree, they found it again. That same star. And beneath it, 12 down. To quell. But 12, what? And 1 to go for what? Answer comes in story 4, the one that ties it all together. And I promise you it's fucked. Story 4. The 13th flame is the morning of July 5th. The country's hungover. Streets are littered with broken bottles, half-melted popsicles, and the faint stink of burnt flesh and leftover pride. But one man didn't sleep through the fireworks. Detective James Rooker, retired, divorced, drunk, said his eyes had fire in them. They pulled his badge, stuffed him with pills, and threw him in a psych ward until he shut up. Never stopped hunting because he knew what he saw. He was once the best homicide dick in the state until he shot a priest in the middle of mass. Claimed the guy wasn't human. But Rooker never stopped watching. And now it was back. The morning paper hit his doorstep like a brick. The headline read, 13 dead in campground massacre. He spilled whiskey on his shirt as he read it. His eyes drifted down, below the fold. A smaller article. Veteran explodes in backyard firework incident. Gruesome float terrorizes meat parade. Authorities find matching symbols at all scenes. 13 lines. 13 victims. Same star. Rooker's hands shook. It was happening again. Pushed aside dusty boxes, pulled out a file marked Project Patriot Flame, a top-secret Cold War experiment buried by the government in '73. He went to his basement. The file told it all. In 1777, the Continental Army stumbled onto something buried beneath a battlefield in New York. Not a weapon, not a man, a flame. It wasn't fire like we know it, it thought. Into the holidays, into the very DNA of this goddamn country. It moved, it whispered. No children, no cars, no damn birds. Silence. Where 12 robed figures stood in a circle around a bonfire made of bones and flags. In the center was a cradle real wood, real old carved with that same crooked 13-pointed star. And it fed on blood and belief. Washington himself ordered it buried under 13 layers of rock and ritual, 1 for each colony. But over time, it leaked out into the land. So, in the 70s, the CIA tried to wake it back up, called it the spark. They wanted a weapon of ideology, something that burned through resistance like napalm through a jungle. But instead, it turned on them. It possessed a base full of soldiers. That heat, in his bones, burned half a town, its mouth twitching in a smile too wide for any face. Sparks dripped from its lips. And the thing inside sat up, so they buried it again, deep, or so they thought. Rooker raced to Ashgrove, then to Ediston, then the lake. But all you did was delay the birth. Every site formed a triangle on the map, and dead center of that triangle, a tiny unincorporated town called Coldridge Hollow. Population 666. Rooker knew where he was going next. He arrived on July 5th at sunset. The air smelled like gasoline and rot till he heard it. Drums. The American flag bled red for real. Its flesh untouched, mouth leaking embers, eyes glowing like July 4th sky. Coming from the center of town, he followed the sound to the church square. Inside it, a thing wrapped in an American flag, skin like burnt paper. The priest turned. "You're late, detective," he said. "We need one more, the final match to light the flame." "Fuck you," Rooker spat, raising his pistol. "You lit it yourself, years ago. When you shot me in that church, when you heard the whispers. You thought you stopped it." Rooker's hands trembled, but he could feel it again. The flame wasn't in the air. It was inside him. You were the first match, the priest grinned. And now, the 13th. Rooker screamed as his body ignited fire, pouring from every orifice. The 12 robed figures chanted louder. The cradle erupted in golden flame, fully formed. Not a baby, not a man. Something in between. It stepped out of the fire, barefoot, and it spoke. Not in English, not in Latin. In the crackle of bonfires, the sizzle of meat on a grill, the shriek of bottle rockets, the wail of dying patriots. And the land listened. Across the country, things changed. Fireworks turned to firestorms. Parade floats split open and birthed creatures. Veterans rose from graves, eyes lit with sparks. And every town saw the 13-pointed star on their walls, their flesh, their souls. A new Independence Day had begun. Not freedom from tyranny, but freedom for the flame, for the spark. And now it burns in you. Happy 5th of July.